mean, just
Right.
each other.
We are ready, Deborah.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, we could talk all day. Okay, so we'll begin with your name.
Great. I'm Councilmember Dan Strauss.
Spell it for me.
Danstrauss.
And what district are you representing?
I represent District 6, including Ballard, Fremont, Finney, Green Lake, Greenwood, Crown Hill. We're getting Magnolia, but we're losing Crown Hill.
That's what I was going to say, because your district has actually expanded and retracted at the same time.
That's
Contracted?
right. I'm really excited to have Magnolia. I used to work for Councilmember Sally Bagshaw, so I've already worked for Magnolians and I know the issues. I went to preschool in Magnolia in the village, and I will say that I'm really sad and kind of upset about losing Crown Hill because I've been working with the residents there so closely. They were recently upzoned and they have a lot of input about how that development occurs. As well, Crown Hill is so directly connected to Ballard, and it's just sad. So I'm not going to quit working for the Crown Hill residents until their D5 representative has their feet underneath them.
Alrighty. Well, as you said, you're volunteering to do this. You do get paid once you get elected, but until then, you don't. Why are you running again? You know what it's like to be on the council, to have the slings and arrows, and yet you're putting yourself in that position again. Why?
You know, growing up in District 6, I have our community is very important to me. And I want to see us have success, have a vibrant, safe, welcoming community that works for everyone, especially working families. And what I know is that things are better today than they've been in the last few years, but better's not good enough for me. I want to raise my kids in a neighborhood that is safer than the one that I grew up in. And you know, when I decided to run for re-election, I wasn't sure that I was going to run for re-election, but it was actually picking up trash in front of the Ballard Library and watching my work transition it from being a place that had encampments every day to just a couple people who set up their tents at night after the library closes, and they take down their tents before the library opens. And that was what I remembered as a kid learning to read at the Ballard Library. That's how it was when I was growing up, and I know that, and I can see the horizon. It has a brighter future than what we have today, as long as we don't let up.
You're asking people to vote for you again.
Yeah.
And some of those people have never voted for you because they weren't in your district. Why should they?
Well, you know, I'm the only incumbent endorsed by Mayor Harrell. You know, I have worked very closely with the mayor to get the city off the wrong track and on the right track. And the way that partnership works is I go out and I lay the groundwork, and then his team comes behind me. They are the ones that implement all city departments and policies. And so just looking down at Leary Way right now, we're resolving a homeless encampment that I've partnered very closely with the mayor on. We're using the same approach that we used at Ballard Commons and Woodland Park that resolved those encampments without sweeps. And when I talk to the mayor, what we both agree on is that we cannot afford to lose any momentum. We can't lose any ground on the positive direction that we are heading right now. And like what I was talking about with Crown Hill, anyone coming into this position, it will take them a year to get their feet underneath them. And so, you know, what you have in me is somebody that is working very hard, that is partnering with the mayor to get our city not only on the right track, but faster down that right track. And anyone else that would take my position, it would take them a year to figure out what was, you know, to get their feet underneath them. And what you have in me is somebody that's not going to slow down. I'm going to keep the momentum to make our city a more safe, walkable, vibrant, and livable place.
If you win re-election and you're going to be working, we know, with some people who have never been on the council before, because Shama Sawana, the incumbent, is not running again, and there are others who are running in a seat that's open. What kind of council member do you think you'll be if re-elected? Very much like you have been, or somehow a different Dan Strauss?
You know, my strength and weakness is that I don't stand on a soapbox. I don't, you know, get up on a podium and say all of the things that I think that the world should be. I keep my head down and I focus on the work and I get the work done. And that's how I get things done for District 6, and that's how I get things done for the city of Seattle. An interesting thing about me is I will be the longest serving person at the city council consecutively if reelected, because I worked for Councilmember Sally Bagshaw. And so I have watched the culture shift at the city council from a time when every council member had their doors open to the doors being closed, to a whole new group of people being elected in 2020, the pandemic coming, and changing habits. What you'll have in me at the City Council is a leader to reshape our culture so that it is more collaborative, so that we can disagree without being disagreeable, so that we're there working together in person, and we're working together even if we don't see eye to eye, because that's what our city needs. That's the leadership that we need to get our city down this right track faster.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Go ahead and just stay there. I'm just going to get a 2 shot.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, Deborah, I can talk to you all day.
Exactly. We'll bring out the hammer once you're back in the office.
Sure, come on out.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how excited I was to see your email come through. I was like, are you kidding me? I get to come down and talk to you?
Wow, how lovely. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I saw you, of course, it was there was a large crowd, because I was saying to Andrew Lewis yesterday, I'm there only when the meetings last until 6 o'clock or 6:30 or something like that.
You know, I got to tell you, having that packed council chamber and everyone screaming, the first time everyone was really back on the dais and everyone was screaming was that drug vote
That's the one I'm talking
in
about.
June.
Yeah.
And it was interesting for me. It was kind of refreshing.
Exactly.
Because, like how I was saying, how things have changed down at council, even though it was intense and not necessarily pleasant to be on the receiving end, it was like, oh, things are back.
Exactly. This is normal. That's how I feel now in traffic. And when I get mad, I say, hey, remember what it was like 3 years ago? There was nobody out here. And that was so dreary to me. And we were out.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, Jay and I were partnered almost through the entire pandemic, because they didn't want to separate us because, you know, of the issues with illness. And there was no one there.
There was no one there.
And those who were there were going, you know, a million miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, so there was only about a month, maybe 2 months that I didn't go to City Hall. So I was in City Hall throughout the entire pandemic. And having, you know, the pandemic started 8 weeks into my first term. And so 8 weeks prior to the pandemic, I was working for Sally Bagshaw for District 7, downtown, right? And just as early as November, so now we're talking like 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I had been working to get City Hall Park reopened and back on track. And to watch all of my work disappear in 2 weeks,
like that.
It was heartbreaking.
That had to be. And you were in the building. You could see it as well. If you.
That was the hardest part. And so that's also like, I know where we've come from. I know where we can be, right? And like, you know, when we reopened Ballard Commons Park, we actually used it as the dry run to reopen City Hall Park.
Oh, wow.
Because I was able to take the information that I'd learned opening City Hall Park, apply it to Ballard Commons, and then prep the Parks Department back for City Hall Park.
Well, yeah, because it takes, there has to be something happening at that park. Otherwise, it will go back to what it was.
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.